Yes, good morning and welcome into the Auckland Cup and Railway preview show of 2023. All the hard work has been done for Connections to make their way into this final, and the polish will be applied as we head towards Sunday. And to take us through both of our Group 1 finals is Mark Rosanowski and Andy McCook. And Rosa, we'll start with you. Very good morning to you. I know this is a race you look forward to each and every year, and I'm sure you'll give us a history lesson as well.
Oh, why not? May as well repeat from 12 months ago, I guess, Phillipa, but it comes around again. Manukau is the 6th venue for the Auckland Cup that started in 1947 at Ellison Park in Devonport, and it was at New Lynn only for a few years. Then off to Kumeu, got to Claudelands, Mount Smart before Claudelands, Mount Smart Stadium, home of the Warriors. And then, of course, Manukau in 1989, and that was on a grass track, won by Tiki Cruz, trained by Erin Kurahiki, who was the long-time lure driver there at Manukau Stadium. And in 1999, the Loam track at Manukau, and one of my favourite winners, Denzel Bale, first of the Auckland Cup wins for Craig Roberts, who gets a decent chance again on Sunday with Carlos Jewell.
Absolutely, he does, and very apt too, Andy McCook, that we have got some Southern Raiders, and none more so than, of course, the Power Superstar, last year's winner.
Gee, how good was he in the heats last week? Good morning to everybody tuning in for the show today. Just showing the class of Team Fahey coming in fresh after a stack of issues that he's had throughout his career. Of course, we know how good he is, the superstar. Pip, the draw a little bit niggly, and we'll touch on that a little bit later on, but you can never count out Team Fahey, and this boy looking to try and punch his way into the 300k club if he was to win, which is just a massive effort for a Greyhound who's still quite young and has had a lot of injury issues. Oh,
it really is. They are one of the superior trainers, aren't they? So let's take you through that final field. We'll start with you, Rozo.
Yes, here he is, number 1, Carlos Jewell, raced by Angela Washington, trained by her partner Craig Roberts, who knows how to win an Auckland Cup and gets the ideal draw.
Dog 2, Aston Kennett, one of 6 in the race for Team Cole. He's looking for 8 on the bounce. He's going around currently as your $2.10 fixed odds favourite.
And number 3 in the race is going to be Hometown Hero, another of the Cole runners, raced by Darren and Michael Puleo, and has made a pretty big impact in New Zealand, including a 3rd in a New Zealand Cup.
We carry on the Cole theme with Dog 4, Space Boy, one of the youngsters in the race. This one owned by the Conspiracy Theory Syndicate, one of 2 in the race out of the All About Space litter.
Here he is, defending champion, Opawa Superstar, brilliant in his heat, fastest heat winner, raced by Opawa Racing and Alan Davidson and Jean and Dave Fahey, who know how to polish an Auckland Cup winner too.
Dog 6, Allegro Warrior, he goes around as one of the roughies, but he brings in a very good record. He's won 8 from 22.
Number 7 is Spacetron, a brother to Space Boy, again for the Conspiracy Theory Syndicate, a Class 4 Greyhound.
Dog 8 wrapping up the field is Mustang Charlie, the last of 6 charges for Team Cole. He's the old boy in the race, but gee, he's still got a stack of burn and he will be right there at the finish.
He really will be, and we have a look at our market now for the final field, and Aston Kennett, Rozzo, comes up favourite at $2.10, ahead of Superstar at $2.30.
Yes, well, he draws underneath Superstar, and I guess that could be the key. There was so little in the splits in the overall time. That could well be enough if they both run up to last week. And Andy, it's just complete domination here from those 2 in the market, and it's hard to look anywhere else for an actual winner because something would have to probably go wrong for both of those, and it's not really mapped to do that.
Yeah, it's hard to look outside of them, so it's hard to try and spot any value in the market, perhaps when the place markets come out around a Greyhound like Carlos Jewell. But, gee, the way this field maps up, it looks Aston Kennett, who's pretty hard to beat. Some nice plays on him before the heat, 700 and 300 on him at $4. Of course, he's now the $2.10 final field favourite. And Opawa Superstar, who you could have locked in $5 around in the futures market, now sitting at $2.30 on the second line of betting.
Well, let's have a look at what weather and track conditions we might be expecting on Sunday. Of course, it was a beautiful day for the heats, a little bit cloudy, but then that sun really come out, and we're looking like we will expect the same track conditions this Sunday. Partly cloudy, northwesterlies, a low of 15, a high of 23 degrees. And our first race kicking off at 1:37 in the afternoon. So not only will the racing be hot, but it certainly looks like our weather track conditions will be as well. Let's take you through now the heats for these runners. riders to make their way through to the final. We'll start with heat number 1, where the winner here, of course, was from Lisa Cole's kennel, Space Boy. First look at the track in the red rug. Notable dogs to follow, though, Rosso. You've got Mustang Charlie in the back here, and out wide Andy with Carlos Jewel.
Yeah, he looks the run of the race here for mine, Carlos Jewel, doesn't he? Gets out wide, he has to cover a lot of ground. We know that he loves getting to the paint, and gee, once he found the paint, he really charged home late. Rosa, I think the other thing to take out of this is, of course, Mustang Charlie, who you can see really burning mid-race. Now, clearly his second split a little bit off that of Superstar and Kennett, but he comes up with a super draw for him in box 8.
Yeah, look, he certainly does. It's perfect for him, isn't it? Look, going into that race, I thought, well, you flip around Space Boy and Carlos Jewel and then there's some sort of chance, but they seem to make it work from their respective draws. And although the time 30 and 35 obviously down on our two favourites, I thought an exceptional performance from both Greyhounds here. Phillipa with Carlos Jewel having to do a stack of work in a position that he's not really entirely comfortable with, and Space Boy, of course, looking to want to ease out into the clear. As I say, overall 30 and 35 the slowest, with a 470 lead up there, but certainly strength about the first two Greyhounds home, and as Andy mentioned, Mustang Charlie with that mid-race burn and perfectly drawn in the final to be able to utilise that strength of his too. Tell you what, Pip, if we're successfully predicting the forecast for Sunday in Auckland, then by hell, we better tip the card.
I certainly hope so. Let's have a look now at heat number 2, and wow, this is a dog called A Par with Superstar. He runs his PB here in the heat with an exceptional lead up, and you just see that as soon as the lids open, Andy, bang, straight to the front. He was the dog to beat.
Yeah, he certainly was, and this just showing the class of not only dog but trainer as well. We hadn't seen him race day since the 23rd of December. He's been on the sideline for basically 3 months. He's had one official trial in that time where he clocked an astonishing 16.79 over the sprint at Addington with an unbelievable run home. Rosso, it's hard to take anything out of this except Superstar, who looks a really big player in this final. I think the draw a little bit niggly for him, and we'll touch on that a little bit later on. But gee, what can you say about Team Fahey?
It's just one of the runs of, I don't know how many last several years for him to come out and perform like this, to run the sectionals, to run the time, and to put a big space on a dog like Hometown Hero. Now, Superstar, of course, won the New Zealand Cup, and Hometown Hero was third. What I will say from the head-on start was Hometown Hero did take an early knock, and I thought he did pretty well after that. But you've said everything about A Par with Superstar. And Phillipa even allowing for the fact that there was a knock there for Hometown Hero. It's not something where there's going to be a turnaround of 8 lengths unless, again, as I say, something happens. Superstar doesn't quite jump so well, second up syndrome, whatever. But out of that, we're looking at Superstar versus Aston Kennett very quickly.
We definitely are, and I think that just maybe brings Hometown Hero in it for the minors, as we now have a look at heat number 3. And this one's taken out, of course, by Aston Kennett, who is now the favourite for the final. That's him in the white rug. Initially not that quick in his stride, but it's when he hits the ground running, Andy, that he really puts the burners on.
Yeah, his second phase speed is almost second to none in the country these days. He's able to put a field away here in the very early stages, and he runs time. He's looking for 8 on the bounce. He's unbeaten in the country. Rosso, he has made a splash since the first time we saw him, Aston Kennett, and the thing with him, he just comes up with a superior draw for the final, and gee, $2.10. I think he's pretty hard to beat and a deserved favourite.
Well, I might take you on with my heart rather than my head and Superstar, Andy, but he has been exceptional since he stepped out here in New Zealand. And I think one of the things about him as we look at those sectionals, that 4.58 that matched A Par with Superstar, who was clearly superior to his opposition to the first bend, and the 15.25 to the back mark, his overall time comes up a fraction slower than A Par with Superstar, but of course with the draw in the final he gets the opportunity to stay underneath Superstar were they to produce the same sectional into the first bend. But it's relatively clean in behind, and again, like Superstar, he's just done some exceptional work to get so well clear. Spacetron did take a knock or two going into that first bend, and I thought that was a pretty resilient run from a young Greyhound, Phillipa. We've talked about this all about Space Litter from the moment they hit the ground, and one of them has won a Group 2 in Carey Street, but it doesn't always follow that they go through the grades and start contesting Group 1 races, particularly at this level. So it's phenomenal for two of them to be in there.
It really is, and the fact that they don't have a general two-turn track to run on regularly, the fact they have to move and go to Auckland all the time just to give them a look, and of course that run has been a little bit of not being able to get those runs into them too. So a fantastic performance from these greyhounds, and we're going to go through them runner by runner after this break.
I'm way too good to be the one running back.
Racing, pinging off here the middle of the pack is Little Mother. She goes to lead out wider. There we go to Corpower. Down on the inside of runners there is Happy Yap. Sergio jumps off the back there of Corpower and moves up to fifth. Down on the inside of runners there we go to Olympic Ace. Back then out of Awesome Bender. And last of all there is Embezzlement. Off the top they come. Little Mother in front 2 or 3. Doing it nicely. Winsome Opawa. Happy Yap. Here comes Sergio on the corner. Little Mother. Go your little bitch. Little Mother still in front. And a win from Winsome Opawa. And then we go to Happy Yap, followed there by Awesome Bender. Sergio further back was Olympic Ace. That's been followed home there now.
So high that we can see it all. We're just flies, lost in the line, looking for something.
Yes, what a fantastic greyhound she was, and what a fantastic call by Peter Early, of course trained by Lisa and Brendan Cole, and she was such a phenomenal greyhound, wasn't she, Rosa? But not only that, the stakes money that she earned too while she did race.
Yeah, incredible. Look, she won 2 Auckland Cups, 2010, 2011, 85 wins and 132 starts. She has the New Zealand Stakes record in greyhound racing, 377,000. But Andy McCook, there's a couple from down your way who are sneaking closer. No Keeper, the silver collar defending champion, gets a chance at that in a few months' time to win it back-to-back. 310k and a par with Superstar. Well, if he can win this Auckland Cup, he gets to the 300 club too.
And he does it at start 43. He's had a few injury problems throughout his career so far. Superstar, he has just a marvel of a greyhound. He's very quick. You have to take your hat off to Team Fahey, who just continue to reel him out at the very top form, and he looks a chance in this. And as you say, if he wins through the 300k, what limit could he get to? What level could he make our stakes earnings go to if he was to win this and put himself through that at just start number 43? It is simply phenomenal. Let's have a look at a speed map now for this week's Auckland Cup, where obviously the speed looks to come from dogs 2 and 5, Aston, Kennett and Opal with Superstar. Pip, the speed map kind of says it all, where these two greyhounds look head and shoulders above everything else, and let's hope this map plays out, because if it does, we're going to have absolute fireworks going down the back at Auckland.
We really are. I mean, they lit up in the exact same sectional last week. If they do that again, it really, really is hard to say something else beats these two greyhounds in the field. But we are going to go through them runner by runner. Every dog has still made their way into this race, and it is greyhound racing. So first off, we'll head to Dan Roberts. I just asked him on Sunday how wrapped he was with Carlos Jewell finishing second.
Yeah, very wrapped with that. I was just hoping he got around the first bend untouched. He sort of got a wee bit of a touch up, but he accelerated well down the back, and he's a pretty powerful finisher over the back of 520. So he got a wee bit lucky. There's a wee bit of interference coming off the bend, but no, he's gone wrapped. I'm really happy with him.
Is he a really good traveller?
He's not too bad. He's pretty laid back. He can get a wee bit upset at times, but he come through his trial good on Thursday, and he's obviously gone exceptional today. So I think he's going to handle the travelling okay again next week, and I think he'll benefit as well from going the full way around today, whereas he only had a box-to-box on Thursday.
Yeah, as he alluded to there, Andy, he'll just be better with that look at the track now that he's had that full 527-metre run. He comes up with the ace, Sally. How do you see him making his way into this race?
I actually really like this greyhound to run into the money late. Obviously hard to see him running past both of the favourites if they get clean runs, but he loves the inside. He'll use the paint all day long, and the one thing he has on them is race day experience. It starts 72 for Carlos come Sunday. I really like this greyhound, Rozzo. He maps to get a really clean run into the first corner. We know how strong he is when he gets that clean run. I'm pretty keen on him being able to power into a placing here.
Me too, Andy. Yes, I'm with you there on that. He is a dog who, when he's in the zone, he's very, very good. And I think back to a performance at Manukau Raceway in June, where in the Matariki Stakes, he ran Federal Infrared to a nose from absolutely nowhere. He's out of Fimple Allen, who was out of Langy Bale, and Langy Bale was the dam of Dirk Bale, who won the 2018 Auckland Cup, and of course Dirk's brothers were in there too. Alan Ablett ran third and Avenger Bale seventh, so there's just that little bit of Auckland Cup winning blood in there too, Philippa.
There really is. Look, I've left him out of my 4. He was my next in, though. I just had a look at him from box number 1. I wouldn't say he's an absolute rail painter. I just think initially off the lids that pressure can come down and he likes to punch off one. So the best thing for him could be that map, as Andy's alluded to, where he's slow away. You can see him working himself into this race, but I have left him out of the 4. Let's move on now to number 2 in the book, and of course his name is Aston Kennett, and I did catch up with Brendan Cole and just asked him, he had the same sectionals as a Power Superstar. Does he see that he can get some improvement out of this greyhound?
Well, yeah, possibly, because he only come off a 4:57 last week. So, yeah, we could find a length maybe 2 lengths. But, yeah, look, either of those dogs lead, the race is over pretty much. So, just have to see where they come out with the draws now. But, yeah, he's a real nice dog.
You've won plenty of these group races, Brendan, and trained some incredible dogs. How does he stack up towards some of them?
Yeah, he's coming along quite nice. I told Ray Border that when he sent him over, he said he's got a fast dog, and I gave him a couple of trials. Said, yeah, he's a nice dog, Ray. Yeah, if we can keep on improving on him. But yeah, he's a thinker, the dog. So yeah, look, we know he can run. He don't break Federal Morgan's track record, and 30-13 out there is pretty nice. We can get him down around that 30 mark. It'd be really good.
Well, he certainly has got a fast dog, Rozo, and he's come up with the ideal draw.
He has. He's drawn perfectly in 2, and he's underneath a Power Superstar, and I guess that is the key. He's got a dog in box number 1. Shouldn't bother him at all. He looks like he's got the others covered for speed to the first bend, other than a Power Superstar. We first saw this dog in New Zealand run a 21:11 trial. And that was back when 21:11 was pretty quick for Manawatu. Over the 375 metres, the times have come down a bit since then, but he beat Federal Aussie by 4 lengths. There was clearly some talent there, and now he's gone unbeaten in 7. Andy, as you mentioned, here in New Zealand. And what I love about him is how seamlessly he's gone from Manawatu to Auckland and back again, and he just doesn't miss a beat.
Just taking it in his stride, hasn't he? And the thing with him, the map is just perfect. You would expect him 100 times to beat the one early, find the inside, stay under Opawa Superstar, and if that's not enough, he's got his 2 kennel mates drawn 3 and 4 who don't have a lot of early speed and shouldn't be putting any pressure on him. So even if he's half a stride slow, he's going to have that much room to be able to punch through Pip and put himself back into the race. I just find it so hard to go against him.
I have to agree, Andy. I'm like you. I just think he gets the map. I think he, even if they jump on par, I don't see how Super crosses him, especially with his racing style. And if that's the case, there's not enough in their splits from Sundays to suggest to me that Superstar can get past him. Might not play out that way, but like you, it's very hard on what we saw Sunday to not put him on top. Let's now have a look at number 3 in the book, and that is Hometown Hero, also from Lisa Cole's kennel. And I just asked Brendan how he assessed his run on Sunday.
Yeah, it was good because he was in the race meeting last week when it was abandoned. So he's effectively gone nearly 15 days without a hard run. So yeah, no, I was happy, and he'll find some for the final. He's a really nice dog.
He really should improve off of that run, Andy, with it underneath his belt, and we saw what he could do down at the New Zealand Cup.
Yeah, he's a really nice dog, this Hometown Hero, and he's probably somewhat overshadowed by the 2 favourites, but we can't really count him out of being some sort of hope of running into the minors. As you said, he's a greyhound who made the New Zealand Cup, and to be fair, he wasn't far away. Rozo, the thing with him, we know he's certainly no rail painter, so he gives his kennel mate a stack of room to move, but we know he's very good in his own right, Hometown Hero, and I'm picking he won't be far away here either.
No, indeed. I thought his run in the New Zealand Cup was outstanding for 3rd and very good form at Manukau leading into Sunday. And as Brendan pointed out, he's the big improver there without having a run the week before. He's by Aston DB. Now, Ray Border, of course, is the owner of the 2-dog Aston Kennett, the favourite for the race. Well, Aston DB, one of the best Aston dogs ever for Ray Border, Melbourne Cup winner, and he's been an outstanding sire and is the sire of Hometown Hero. Hometown Hero is out of Nikki Fields. What an exceptional producer she's been, headed by Poke the Bear, who won nearly $500,000. Hooked on Scotch, who's now a decent sire himself. He won nearly 400. Out of Range won over 200,000. Fully Loaded, True Talent, both won over 100,000. Phillipa, Hometown Hero, with $74,000 in stakes earnings and more to come, is currently 6th on the list for the Brood Bitch in terms of stakes, which is something else. And Darren and Michael Paleo probably can't believe what they've got. But Hometown Hero can definitely add to those stakes, at least with a minor stake come Sunday.
I really think he can. What you alluded to on that head-on too, I don't think it would have taken anything away from Superstar, but it just shows how game he is. Some dogs will take a knock like that and kind of button off. He didn't. He still ran into the second position really nicely, and I think he'll take benefit out of that run. So I have got a spot for Hometown Hero. Another from the kennel is a Space Boy, and I did catch up with Brendan once again and just asked him, well, he must have been absolutely wrapped with his win first up on the track.
Oh yeah, super wrapped. Thought he might sort of move off the track a bit. These dogs of mine, they've only been racing really on one-turn tracks, so when they get a chance to go on the circle and they get a few runs on the circle, it just shows that they are railers, you know. So yeah, he's a very strong dog. I would have found some improvement out of that dog for sure.
He got to the outside, coming in for home where he likes to be. Do you want to see him drawn wide?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because he hasn't got the early speed. I think he has to stay on the inside. Yeah, if we can maybe come up with a cherry, that'd be nice.
Well, he hasn't quite got the red rug. He is drawn in the middle of the track, but Rosso, you know the dog well. I don't think it's the worst place for him to be with his early speed and how he likes to race in his runs.
Yeah, indeed. What a phenomenal performance. Start number 20 for this dog from a litter, and there's a handful of them, including Group 2 winner Carey Street, who got knocked out in the heats last week. They're out of All About Space. Now, she actually made the final of the Auckland Cup in 2019. She finished 7th there behind Diddley, but look, just to make the final, I think Andy is an outstanding achievement from this dog. The way that he won his heat suggests that there's plenty of decent wins to come from him. Of course, when you're at the elite level, though, blow and go is the best way, and that's not Space Boy, and he doesn't have the experience yet. So in terms of winning the 2023 Auckland Cup, I'm saying no, but it'd be interesting to see what unfolds in front of him and how much ground he might be able to make.
Agree 100% there, Rosso. Hard to see him winning. Deserves his spot here, though. He's a class animal, and you have to be excited for greyhounds like the two brothers here, Space Boy, Space Tron, looking forward to races like the Derby, which could just be an unbelievable addition this year. Pippi's a nice dog in his own right. I think it's probably 12 months too early for him to be taking on the absolute elite dogs here, like the Aston Kennets and the Opal with Superstars. Deserves his spot, but hard to see him winning.
Yep, completely agree with you, Andy. I just think that lack of early speed is what it really boils down to. But you know one thing, if he gets into even a midfield position, his run home are incredible. And I do think, again, he's a dog that could place into the top 4. Well, let's now touch on our second favourite and last year's winner in Opal was Superstar. He ran his PB on Sunday, and I just asked Katie what she thought of that.
I was super impressed the way that he flew out of the boxes, and I've talked to Dave from Perth, and him and Gina wrecked with the run also.
And he's really good down the back mark and coming home. In your opinion, how much improvement does he have in him?
I think he has a wee bit of improvement still, because I think he needed the run. His first race back, so you know that race is always a lot harder than a trial.
And as you alluded to, Andy, I mean, he hadn't had a race since the end of December, really, so an incredible performance from the dog.
Certainly was. Incredible performance by Superstar, showing us just how good he is if we didn't already know it, and an incredible effort by Jean and Dave and the entire team there. As Katie touched on, Jean and Dave were away on holiday for a week or so the team there, of course, headed up by Katie, doing a super job to get Superstar in the right spot to not only win but run a PB, run the best heat, and absolutely bolt. And Rosso, I think we run out of ways to describe not only dogs like Superstar, but trainers and teams like Jean and Dave have. They are simply second to none.
That's right, and this dog is the only survivor from last year, the defending champion for Jean and Dave, and they've pretty much done it all in greyhound racing, haven't they? Now, does the dog go forward from that, or does that take the edge off the dog? Well, he's in the right camp to suggest that he come out and run at least as well again. I think the key thing here is he's the Group 1 dog, been there, done that. Not only the Auckland Cup, but the New Zealand Cup, the New Zealand Breeders' Stakes. He's been second in a Derby, third in a New Zealand Cup. Heck, if he won the Derby and that first New Zealand Cup, he'd be up there with Little Mother now. He is a phenomenon. And Phillipa, if we go back to the New Zealand Cup, and the thinking was kind of the same. Federal Infrared leads out, stays underneath Superstar. How does he get past it? Well, he found a way. He finds a way. He's determined as well as fast. He was exceptional in that New Zealand Cup. He even took a knock. Now, we could argue as to whether Federal Infrared was worried out of it by Mustang Charlie, and of course Hometown Hero got into that finish as well. But Opawa Superstar got the job done on that night in November, and I think he can again.
He really did, you're right, he was just so determined. He's almost got something in him, I think, for that. And it just shows even in his trial, he went 16.79. He had his preparation upset again because he took a stopper off. So he hasn't had that well of a prep coming in, and he's still run his PB, and I've played against him, and every time I have, he's won. So that might be a big tick as well. Let's now move on to Allegro Warrior. And again, I just caught up with Brendan Cole and asked him what he thought about his performance off the 8.
Yeah, he went real nice off the 8. Look, it's at the top of his range, I think, the distance. But, yeah, look, can't win the race, but still nice to have him in the final, you know.
He's done really super, Andy, to get into this final. Again, not a dog that generally runs on the 2-turn track, and just really a youngster making his way into a Group 1 final.
Yeah, so I think Brendan kind of touched on it all there. It's hard to see him winning. He's going around as the outsider of the field. He's currently showing 26, and you would expect Rozo that come race day Sunday, he's going to be a whole lot longer than that, because it's very, very hard to see him winning this race. But again, good young dog, got a future, competitive, deserves his chance here, but hard to see him winning.
I really like this jog. He's a bit of a quiet achiever, gets overshadowed by his own kennel mates, of course. And of course, these days he doesn't win out of turn. Early on, he was winning them in a row, as these dogs can, going up through the grades. He's by Big Time Paddy, one of the hardest chasers I've ever seen. Maiden Auckland Cup final, had absolutely no luck in it, and ran last. He's out of Allegro Lash. She ran second in swimming, in one of Swimming Goat's railways, and she, Allegro Lass, is out of Hi-Fi Allegro, who won 2 railways, 2010, 2011. The family knows success on this day. I don't think it'll be so, Phillipa, for Allegro Warriors. We all tend to agree here, but he's a really nice dog. I think he's a legitimate New Zealand Derby chance and a really strong year when we get to run that Derby.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think 4.57 at this stage looks to be his real go, as Brendan alluded to. Just that last bit of the 527 metres could be telling, and in a race where there's a lot of strength, I just think that may be a bit tricky for him this year. Let's now move on to number 7 in the book, and this is Space Tron, the brother to Space Boy. And I just asked Brendan, he must be happy with the dog at such a young age to make his way into this race, considering his prep.
He was meant to run last week when the meeting was abandoned, so that's his first run here too. So I would expect some improvement, and strength is on their side, but not early speed. So for good young dogs, yeah, they're nice, really nice dogs.
Just on that, how close do they need to be to the pacemakers to really be a winning chance, do you think?
Oh, they have to be in front of the pacemakers. Like, they won't run down a Opawa Superstar. There's no way in the world. The dog can do it off the front, off the middle, off the top end, and finish it off. So they have to be in front of him. So the way he came out of the boxes today, it's a 2-horse race or 2-dog race at the moment. I can't see anything with the early speed that he showed, and then Aston Kennett. So, but a lot can happen in a week in greyhound racing. So let's see, and sometimes dogs make mistakes. So let's see where we get to.
Yeah, Brendan summed it up beautifully there, Andy, but it is greyhound racing and you never know, and if something goes wrong, not as far as a winning chance, but he has got that strength maybe to run into those minors.
Yeah, it's greyhound racing. Even when we think we've mapped it to perfection, sometimes they come out and they do funny things on the day. Again, a bit like his brother, he's a very nice young dog. He's got plenty of strength on his side. He's a greyhound who deserves a shot at Group 1 racing. And Rozo, again, he's probably 12 months away from dogs like Aston Kennett and Opawa Superstar, but yet again, how good is the Derby going to be when we get to run it, when we see this calibre of youngster making Group 1 finals like an Auckland Cup?
Oh, it's a mighty fine crop of young male greyhounds in New Zealand, and of course a number of them New Zealand bred, which is outstanding, including these two. And I think pretty much what we said about Space Boys, ditto for Space Tron as well, and only assessed at Class 4. Really good run in that heat, Phillipa. Checked at the first bend after an average beginning and sort of kicking up the middle, taking a knock, and then still finding a way into the final. Good way off Aston Kennett. Sure, like Hometown Hero, who took a knock and was a long way behind Opawa Superstar. So it's hard to see those margins changing around even with clean runs. But again, he's earned his spot. The experience will do him well, and yeah, we'll see what's there to be for the future.
He really has, Rosso. I can't add much more to that. So we'll move on to number 8 in the book, and that is Mustang Charlie. And he's made his way through to this final by running a very nice third. We'll now head to Brendan Cole. And I just asked him how he's got the strength into the dog, because when he first come to the country, he was just that little bit weak over this trip.
I think it's just come with time and age and racing, consistent racing. He will improve again for next week because he's had a 5:27 today, so coming up a 4:50, you know. He's a really nice dog. It's right at the top of his range, but I wouldn't mind 10 or 20 of those dogs.
Is he a little bit of a smoky in the race? Obviously he went brilliant in the New Zealand Cup. Can he do it again?
Oh yeah, definitely. If he breaks the lids, mate, he's got pace to burn. It's just the last section, so it just he would have to lead and get a bit of a gap, but yeah, he's a great chaser.
So at Rosso to have this dog in the final, I mean, his incredible record around the Central Districts, what he did down to Addington, and the fact that they haven't shied away from a 527 metre race with Charlie.
Yeah, I love this dog. Get to call him a lot, obviously, at Palmerston North, the Prince of Palmy, as Andy McCook anointed him, and we've certainly run with that. Well, we might have a new one in town with Aston Kennett, but Mustang Charlie has, you know, been able to stay in the contest with Aston Kennett on a couple of occasions, not to beat him, of course. Love the draw. If we recall back in the New Zealand Cup, for him to get to the final, he had box number 8 whipped up and around the outside of some trouble. Now, let's assume that everything goes according to plan. Aston Kennett and a par with Superstar are eyeballing each other into the first bend. Well, it's an interesting one, Andy, in terms of the map with Mustang Charlie, because of course he's not that good off the lids. But if we're mapping to the first bend, which we were there, his acceleration could carry him into a clear third, and that obviously makes him a player for a minor stake like the New Zealand Cup where he ran 4th.
Yeah, his second phase speed is unbelievable. Even at these days, he's getting on a bit now, Mustang Charlie, but he's still very good. And if you go back 2 starts, a nice second to Aston Kennett, 2.5 lengths away on a track record run. So he's not miles away from his very best, to be fair to a Mustang Charlie, even though he's getting a little bit long in the tooth. Pip, again, it's very hard to see him winning the race. I've sort of left him out a wee bit because I think there's enough strength here late in the piece to get past him. But if he does show that burn, gets to a clear third, any trouble in behind these greyhounds, and he might be able to cling on to a placing.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andy. I think if he runs similar to what he did in the New Zealand Cup, use that acceleration, that mid-burn, where he really does win his races and gets up and behind these 2 pacemakers that we think will be Kennett and Superstar, like you. Trouble behind, I think he can cling on, but if there weren't to be, and there's strong dogs like Space Boy, etc. on his tail, then I can't see him making the 4. And on that, it is now time for our selections and strategies, how we want to play a Sunday. So we'll start with you, Rosso. Who have you got on top?
Yes, because I get the feeling I might be the odd one out here, but I've got this thing here, it's called a heart, and it's pumping. And it's pumping for a par with Superstar. I'm a patriot, I'm going the Kiwi. Now, I'm a huge fan of Aston Kennett, and I've got to see a fair bit of him at the Manukau, and I've liked him from the first look, and he's lived right up to that with what he's done, 7 from 7. But I recall his effort in the New Zealand Cup, a par with Superstar, to get past some of the finest and fastest greyhounds, a couple of whom are actually in this Auckland Cup on Sunday as well. So I think he can do it. It's going to be hard, of course. If he is outside Aston Kennett, he's got to do it the hard way. He's done that before. Carlos Jewell, I love his chances for a minor placing. I've got him in for 3rd. I can see him running into the finish ahead of Hometown Hero. That means I left out Charlie, and that's hard to do, but I think that speaks to the quality and the depth of this Auckland Cup. So from a strategy perspective, well, there's so many ways to play out these days, and that's what I love. New Zealand TAB offering all manner of things. You will find a bet to suit you. I'm thinking about a couple of $50 power plays here, Pip. A par with Superstar to win with Carlos Jewell top 4, Aston Kennett to win Carlos Jewell top 4. And Andy, depending on how those prices come up, I might adjust my stake there to win a certain amount of money. I think, though, you might be flipping my top 2 tips here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to split them as well, to be fair, and it pains me not to have a Cantabrian on top, but I just absolutely love the map of Kennett. I cannot see a way he doesn't get a clean run, even off a fair beginning, and I think from there he'll put himself into the race. I actually really love the draw for Carlos Jewell. I think he'll be the greyhound just minding his own business on the fence. Superstar, I've got him in the mix, and obviously he can win if he goes forward off what he did in the heat, and if anyone can get him to do that, then it's Team Fahey. But at times he can just be half a stride fair off the boxes, and if he does that, the draw could end up being a little bit niggly for him potentially into the first corner. So I think he's good enough to overcome it, obviously, but a little bit of cover there in the 3 Hometown Hero in the mix. Spend on screen, 80 to win on Aston Kennett. He's at $2.10. I think it's a fairly decent price around him. And a little $20 exactor, Aston Kennett Carlos Jewel. Pip, I'd also be pretty happy to wait for the top 3, top 4 markets to come out around Carlos, who's a $16 chance, and I'd be very surprised if he's not in the 4.
And I'm similar. I've got Kennett on top, and like you, I wanted to go Superstar, but there was a couple of reasons I didn't. I just think, again, even though I got it wrong in the New Zealand Cup, I think if Kennett gets in front, maybe he won't get past. And there is that little question mark. Will he take benefit out of that run, or did he put so much into his heat that it just flattens him an inch? So because of that, I have gone for Kennett on top, ahead of a Power Superstar. And then I have got Lisa Cole's other 2 in. Hometown Hero, I was taken by his run. I liked what he did in New Zealand Cup as well. With the early knock, I can't see him getting the same this time. And then I do like Space Boy. It was a real toss for mine between Carlos and Space Boy. But again, I like where he's drawn. I thought he was fantastic first up on the track. He's got so much strength on his side. So I want to have him in for 3rd and 4th as well between these 2 dogs. I'm going to play it a Quinella here. Aston Kennett, a Power Superstar. I think either of them could win, so I didn't want to play the exacta. $25 top 3 Hometown Hero, and again Space Boy, but like both of you, could change that depending on what those place prices do come up at. It's now time to take a break. Off the other side, we'll be going through the railway.
Good luck. And we race Sander getting out of the boxes nicely here as Thrilling Lucy finds the lead round the outside. There we go to Winsome Ashley. She's found the lead. Catch Me If You Can. Winsome Daisy tucks in behind. Then we go back to Thrilling Lucy. That's followed round the outside there by Red Rush. The inside of Red Rush's Premier Star. Turbine Bale a long way from them. Santa Claus and You're My Lady. Off the top they come. Winsome Ashley in front. Oh, put your hands together. The little superstar swings. Winsome Ashley will stretch away and score nicely here from. Oh, then we go to Winsome Daisy, Red Rush.
Honestly, I'd rather be here.
Racing in the Friday Flash Auckland Cup for 99, and Summer Quick gets out well, and look at Spoken Prince find the lead. Spoken Prince to the lead there from Summer Quick. Round the outside, Big Denzel followed the rail there by Corrigan Bale. Down on the rail there is Overtime out by Raveldo. Further back in the running, Gold Current, History Walk across the top they come. Spoken Prince, how good are you, Denzel? Round the outside he comes now. Further back in the running, there we go to Corrigan Bale. It's followed there by Gold Current and Overtime. Denzel Bale is kicked. Denzel Bale will win the cup for 99. Denzel Bale.
Now that is a celebration, and one I think that whoever catches the winning dog should be doing on Sunday. Rosa, of course you were there in person to catch that in one of your favourite Auckland Cup wins.
Certainly one of my favourites, and the salute, perhaps not the full hip salute, but certainly with the hand with Craig Roberts and various members of the Roberts team as well. That has survived the test of time far better than that perm did, I've got to say. But that was a magnificent day, Denzel Bale winning. And yeah, it's a long time ago now, 24 years. And of course, we saw Winsome Ashley into the break, winning 29.77. Still the track record there at Manukau, outstanding.
It really is, but now we need to turn our attention to the sprint trip. Of course, the Group 1 dogs going head-to-head over the 318 metres, and we'll take a look at the heats for you. We'll start with the first of those, and this is Emily's Perfect and Mint As here. So we're going to highlight Mint As out wide in the pink rug. Not that quick into stride, Andy, and the other runner here, of course, Emily's Perfect, who was nicely off the lids.
Yeah, it's a good run this, mapped to perfection on this occasion, Mint As. I think the draw okay come next week. Maybe a little bit of issue from up your quota in the early stages, but Rosso, very nice greyhound, young greyhound, bright future, and it's just one of these things we've come to expect, the Udi Cottam duo with a very good sprinter.
They've had a good run, haven't they, in the railway over the past few years, winning, of course, with Buddy Boom in 2020. This greyhound by Thrilling Boris, whose last race was in an Auckland Cup, and out of Trey Veach, she was a handy sprinter. She contested a railway heat. Phillipa Mint has drawn the green box 6. I mean, talk about omen bets. In the mix, although it's a tricky race with some dogs drawn the inside who might want to push up a bit.
Yeah, it really is, and we'll take a look at a couple of those that might be doing that. One is Big Time Sonic. You'll see he just keeps his line to the middle of the track. He clocks in 18.40 and he lit up in a 4.56, and both starts on the track, Andy. He's been brilliant off the lids.
We know how good he is. Again, a young greyhound, inexperienced at 25. He's already been able to win 11 races. Rosa, there's not a whole lot we can say about him, except he's very, very good. Clocks a very nice time here, obviously, in 18.40. We know how good he is. He can hold up him on his own into the first corner. So, again, it's a little bit of a niggly draw for a number of these greyhounds, but he's got to be right at the top of the pecking order with some of the best.
He was really good early on in coming through the grades, and then he just had a bit of a spell where he actually downgraded and he went class 4 back to class 3, and that wasn't all that long ago, Phillipa, but he's right in the zone now and he's got things sorted out, and he seems to really like Manukau.
He really does. I think he is a live chance as we take a look at heat number 3. Now, this is run by a Central Districts greyhound as well, in Ritzer Alert. Running in behind him was Up Your Quota, who just jumped beautifully, Andy, and he's not always known for this.
Yeah, Up Your Quota absolutely running out of his skin here. Ritzer Alert, very good. A greyhound who's been very good since he crossed the Tasman, Ritzer Alert. And Rosso, I think what we could say about him is I think he's better on these tracks as opposed to the one turn at Manukau that he constantly has to race over. Middle draw seems to suit his style. I think things look pretty decent here for Ritzer Alert. Obviously, the inside, or a couple of the inside greyhounds, could be a little bit niggly for him, but I think he's half a chance in this final.
Yeah, he certainly is. And of course, we remember back to the Galaxy where he won a heat off the inside, but he was a little bit awkward in doing it, but he got away with it on the day. And all of a sudden, we thought he could be a potential Galaxy winner. But of course, things went wrong from the red rug in the semi-final. But he's drawn box number 4, and he'll be right up for the fight. He's used to some push and shove, that's for sure.
He really is in the Central Districts, and we're going to now take a look at heat number 4. Now, this is won by our favourite in Levi Bale. He wore the red rug, lids open, Andy again, bang straight to the front, but he didn't want to stay by the rail at all.
For a greyhound who's got a fairly decent record from inside draws, it's not really where he wants to be, and the head-on for this race tells that he comes out. Luckily for backers of him, he was clear, was able to make his way to the outside. Now, he checked a few greyhounds in doing it. He's a little bit of a unit. He's 34, 35 kilos, so he can take a knock and get out to where he wants to be. Rosso, we know he's very good. He's potentially one of the best sprinters here, and if he can make a beginning clean enough again, there might just be enough protection here from greyhounds like Big Time Sonic that he can get away with that inside trap once again.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd love to put the red rug through the wash a few times and turn it pink and have him in box number 8, because then he just would be perhaps a lay-down Levi. But what we do know, Angela Washington, Craig Roberts, they of course have a team of harness horses as well. Phillipa, would not surprise me to see Levi Bale with a boring pole come Sunday.
No, you're right about that. That could be a first for greyhound racing. As we now take a look at another heat winner, and this is Aston Lamont, who's drawn right next to him in the final. And again, he's not a dog that's been doing this, not quick off the lids, but he was in the heat, and he banged straight to the front off the red rug. He was drawn beautifully to do this, and a nice run too from Drifter Dodge for second.
Yeah, nice run this Aston Lamont, had the inside, was away on terms with them and was able to punch through underneath greyhounds and win. Rosso, obviously the major concern here is the greyhound drawn immediately inside of him. Now, in these heats, 4.66 early for Levi Bale, 4.64 early for Aston Lamont. So it's very easy to paint a picture where Lamont doesn't get that clean run here, Rosso, and he might get Levi'd in the early stages, which might make it a little bit tricky for him, but he's a nice dog nonetheless.
Oh, it does make it tricky for him. I really like him because he's got decent middle distance potential, and he's had an injury and he's come back and he's been really super over the short course sprints. And best thing he can do is just back out of any battle early and drop to the rail. If he can kind of slip across the hindquarters of Levi Bale, that'd be good for Aston Lamont because it gives him an opportunity there to get back into the race. As we have a look at this market, Levi Bale 350. Well, I think there's a few on at 10s. 450 Aston Lamont. Now, Big Time Sonic comes up second favourite at 4. Ritzer Alert 7.5. Mintaz is at 6. Sadiki Bale second of the Roberts runners out at 9. And at longer odds, Emily's Perfect and Up Your Quota. Well, last year, Andy, it was Golden Fern that won. So predicting the winner of the railway's not always that easy.
No, it's not. He rocked a few last year, didn't he? This year, punters are with Levi Bale. There's a couple of people here hoping that he can win $500 and $250. Two separate bets at $10. He's now a $3.50 favourite. Anybody who got involved in some of these others feeling good as well. Aston Lamont, he closed $10 before the first heat. Big Time Sonic, $18. They're now second and third favourites. Mintaz, Ritzer Alert, 18 and 14 apiece. They're now 6 and 750. And Emily's Perfect, someone with 100 on the snozzer at $61, now going around right in the market is $14. So, Pip, there's a number of nervous punters I'm picking that are really looking forward to Sunday.
I definitely think so. There were some nicer treats there on offer before those heats got underway on Sunday. Well, before we do go through these runners, runner by runner, we're going to touch on the person that is starting both of our Group 1 finals on Sunday.
30 seconds to stir.
Cornelia, how did you first get involved in greyhounds?
I adopted a retired greyhound. His race name was Straight Lotto, and he was trained by Peter Ferguson.
And you have a really good association with Peter Ferguson and his kennel, don't you?
Yeah, I got to know them quite early on and went down and visited their kennels, and from there on got to know about greyhound racing.
So you've done fostering and you own a greyhound yourself. How did you get into starting the greyhounds?
I did a bit of handling here, so I became a licensed handler and I was handling, and then the job came up and I thought, oh yeah, that would be good because I just love being amongst them.
And what is it that really excites you about it? Is there a certain race like an Auckland Cup heat that you get a little bit nervous, or is it just each race you kind of make it the same?
I think it's just the love of seeing them run and how much they love running and the power and the speed. They're just amazing animals.
They really are. You're going to be starting the Auckland Cup heats and of course the Group 1 final next week and the railway. What does that mean to you? Is it special?
It is special because I've been watching it for a while and you know it means a lot and it's very exciting.
Is there a certain dog that you want to win it? Have you had a look at the heats at all?
Oh, I wouldn't want to say.
Yes, I suppose she not if she is starting in the field, but of course she does have Robson on her couch as well, team. Now, as a pet, of course, was raced by Peter Ferguson and did take out the Group 1 Waterloo Cup too, so she's a lover of greyhounds and it's fantastic to have someone like her in the sport.
Most certainly is. I've had her on radio before, Pip, and look, she's a little bit reluctant to speak sometimes. He did a great job with her there. But she's just got a great story because of her deep love of the greyhounds and for her to actually get involved and understand greyhound racing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we better concentrate now, though, on the railway, and we'll get to Dan Roberts, and I just asked him how wrapped he was with Levi Bale.
Yeah, he's gone super. As it turns out, one probably wasn't too ideal. He drifted off the track a wee bit out of the lids, but yeah, he was super fast as qualifier, so we can't complain at all. He's gone great.
Even though we had a look at the track Thursday, that wasn't a trial, so do you think he'll probably just perform a little bit better as far as the track, as far as him running wide on next week?
Yeah, I think he'll improve again. Like you said, he's had a trial, but 2 looks is even better again. So I think he will be an improver, and he's coming back from a slight injury, so he'll take the fitness as well.
Is there any draw for him that's going to really suit?
I think probably anywhere from 4 outwards will probably be ideal, but we won't complain if we draw box 1 again.
He's put a bit of a margin on the other runners time-wise. Is he the dog to beat in your opinion in this final?
Without being too biased, I think he definitely is, yeah.
I think he's the dog to beat as well. He comes up with an inside draw, box number 1. 466 early, although not lightning in terms of early sectionals, Rosso. I think it's good enough for him to be able to hold up here off the inside. He's big enough, he's bolshy enough to take a few knocks if he has to. I'm going to stick with the Cantabrian loyalty here because I have him in the Cup and I think he can win.
No, fair call. Fair call, Andy. Oh, look, I am too. I'm nervous about it because you just feel there's going to be more heat on his outside than there was in the heat. Even though he had to shove one or two out of the way, it wasn't too bad. I see more pressure in this if he's going to run a similar sectional, but hopefully he can fly. We know he can muscle up, and we know that the back end of his race is really good. And I guess the one other thing, Phillipa, is that the dog's drawn outside. And look, Aston Lamont runs a pretty solid line. And you know, he can run a rail quite nicely, but I don't think he's going to bore in on Levi. And then you've got Sonic and Ritz are alert up your quota, so I don't see anything coming hard on Levi, and I think therefore he can get away with it.
Absolutely, that was my thinking as well. Just the way that the field's drawn up, even though he's in the ace, all those dogs you alluded to could just give him the speed. And Aston Lamont hasn't been a greyhound that's always jumped that well. And on that, that's the exact same question that I did ask Brendan, and just how he got the improvement out of him.
He'd been out for 3 weeks, so he raced here and he'd hurt his hip, and he'd been out for 3 weeks, so he's just only been working at home. So yeah, we'll try and keep him real fresh this week and see if we can get him to do that again next week. He can begin, don't worry about that. He's a quick dog.
So on that, how much improvement do you think he's got left in him?
Oh, not a lot of improvement. Yeah, it's pretty big runs at home, so yeah, fitness-wise, he won't be able to get him any fitter.
He's a dog good enough to win it. The question is he able to hold off Levi Bale pushing out on him early on? And that's going to be the key for Aston Lamont. The Cole Kennels have qualified 2 here, 6 in the Auckland Cup. It's a phenomenal training performance. And of course, they've got a deep love affair with the railway as well, Phillipa, and most recently they won it with Trojan Horse a couple of years ago.
They really did, and I think he's got a good chance here, just purely for the fact that he doesn't always jump like that. When I've gone back through his races, 9 times out of 10, he's actually a little bit tardy out of the lids, and then he'll accelerate. And I think if Levi jumps like he did in his heat, well, then it sets up for Lamont to get the rails run through when we've got greyhounds pushing off. I do think he's the smoky maybe to pick up another win. Now moving on to dog number 3. It's big time Sonic, also from the Central Districts, Rosso, and he's a dog that's really taken to Manukau, running the right times at the moment and doing it off the lids nice and early.
Yes, indeed. No knock on this dog at all. Young dog, really in the zone at the right time. As I said, there was a period a couple of months ago where he dropped back a grade, but now he's fired through to Class 5. He's been excellent at Manawa too, and he's measured up to the Class 5s there, but now he's gone to Manukau, and it seems to suit him very nice, and he's unbeaten in a couple there. So, got to say, Pip, that I'm looking at a 1-2-3 here. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out in the run to that first bend, but Sonic is clearly a player for a major stake.
I agree with you. I've really got him in the mix too. I think if he jumps like that, if he puts the times on the board, he's a contender at a young age. Number 4 in the book is Aritza Alert, and Sammy Phillips, the kennel charge. I did bring him up on Sunday, and I just asked her what she made of his performance.
Oh, super wrapped. Just seeing him in front going around the bend, we were a little bit worried with up your quota coming around the outside, but to see him kick back in the final straight was pretty amazing, yeah.
And he drew box number 2 in the heat. Ideally, what draw would you like in the final?
Preferably actually in the middle, which is where most dogs don't want to be, but we think he holds his line really nicely from the middle draws.
Well, he's got the middle draw, and he has got to maybe contend with a dog that could push out, but he was really nice here in the heats on Sunday.
He's a nice dog. That's got a bit of time for him, and I think the 2-turn tracks, albeit a sprint journey, suit him better than the 1 turn. So I think he's a real chance here. I think he can put himself in the race. Rosso, obviously there's a small issue with big time Sonic and Levi Bale underneath of him, but he runs a relatively straight line himself, so I think he's an each way player.
He certainly is, Andy, on what can muscle up. He's been involved in plenty of races where there's push and shove, and with him in the middle there, I think that'll be okay for him. I'm glad he's not on the inside looking to push out here. Love to see Gary Fredrickson pick up a Group 1, and of course Sammy Phillips as the key traveller there with the kennel. This dog raced by Brendan Keane. Unfortunately, they didn't get Rapaki Rocks into the Auckland Cup heats, unfortunately with an injury there, but Ritz Alert a chance for some Group 1 glory on the day for them, Pip.
It certainly will be, and another runner making his way into the race is the Northerner Up Your Quota, and he flew out of the lids in his heat, which is a little bit unusual for him, but he races this track well. He knows it like the back of his hand as well, Rosso, compared to others.
Yeah, he does. That's the key, isn't it? Raced by Nick Wright, trained by Phil Green, and we certainly wish them well. We've known from even just 12 months ago not to write any Greyhound off. Up Your Quota out of Botany Downs, who was the winner of 18. Doesn't win them out of turn, but lots of minor placings, and that could be the go again.
Number 6 in the book is Mint As we alluded to, the team have a really good record in this race, including winning it with Buddy Boom, and he makes his way in by thrilling Boris out of Shrevey. And I did catch up with Jared Udy, Rosso, on Sunday, and he just said he'd had a slight injury coming into this. He was a little bit concerned about how wide he swung in because that's unusual for him, so he thinks he's got a little bit of work to do with him during the week, but he's an 18-20 dog most weeks, and he thinks he'll have improvement coming into Sunday.
He's looked good from race 1, hasn't he? And I would love him in the 8 again, which is where he won his heat from. He's actually got a really good record from box number 6, and oh, again, look, I don't want to keep saying they're each way chances, but he is.
He is, and then we've got Siddiqui Bale, Andy, who trialled beautifully leading into this, and she was super for second and behind.
She's a nice greyhound. She can be a little bit tardy early. She can't afford to give the inside 4 or 5 a head start here and run them down, but fairly underrated type, Pip, and if she was to make a clean beginning, probably not far away.
And another wanting to make a clean beginning is Emily's Perfect. She did that to make her way through to the final, and I think that's the key to her again, Rosso.
Yeah, indeed. Look, she's out of She's a Ripper. It was Andy McCook and my fault in 2018 that She's a Ripper didn't win the railway. We had her as unbeatable. Of course, Rosa T won it this year, but Emily's Perfect might be able to do what her mother wasn't, and terrific to see Daryl McLaughlin and Emma Potts there with a Group 1 runner there. Righto, let's talk about winners. I'm going to go with Levi Bale on top, and I've gone in the end 1, 2, 3, and then I've thrown in the 6 Mint As. And Andy, to be fair, you could just about have anything in for the minors, in my opinion.
Agree 100%, very even. Settled on Levi on top as well. I do think Ritzer Alert comes up with a draw he can use. I think he's a really nice each-way player. Big Time Sonic, Aston Lamont, both chances as well, Pip. But I think it's very, very even this year's railway.
I do too. It must be the Central District's brain or something, because somehow I've come up with the exact same 4 as Rosso. I've gone for Levi Bale, Aston Lamont, Big Time Sonic. I do think those inside 3 could get the run of the race, and then the 6 Mint As. Can't leave out Jared and Denise in a railway. Thank you guys for your time, Andy and Rosso. I'm sure we're going to enjoy all of the action on Sunday. If you can't get on course, make sure you tune in to TAB Trackside 1. First race kicks off just past 1:30.